In Hawaii, there's so much to do. There's hula, there's surfing, and real estate too. We just two local guys with so much to say. So listen to the Real Estate Braddahs today.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is episode 24. 2 years into this, February 2020. We're going to talk about some statistics that's coming soon on MLS status and Core Ridge project update.
Is this me, Lane?
This is you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully people know about me as well as you, Lane. Retired CPA, doing real estate investing and sales, trying to use my powers for good now, helping out investors as well as owner occupants doing the right financial fiscal decisions. But anyway, as usual, we're going to start off with our first month of 2020. Median single family home prices didn't do much in terms of change at $770,000. But on the condo prices, we did see an uptick of almost 8% to $429,000. So that's like slightly under $400 from prior year, January. So that's a pretty big jump.
That's for the year, right? Not month over month?
No, this is actually month over month.
Oh, that's huge, man.
Yeah, that is. And year over year too, there was an uptick also, especially in volume for 2019 versus 2018. That would have been a good thing to talk about too. But there was 2019 was actually a very robust year for Oahu investors or real estate owners. Yeah, so very healthy real estate economy. It's really good.
Why do you think that 7.5% went up? That's kind of a big.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Or is it just like, who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could chalk it up to the building, Kawaoka stuff. But like you said, it could be just like a hiccup. It's very generalized, right? Because we're talking all of Oahu. So that's the challenge in terms of trying to pinpoint it on one single thing, yeah. But closed sales, we see a very big upswing on both sides. Both went up almost 8% for single family at 265 closed sales for the month, and then 16% increase at 379 closed sales for condos. The interesting side of this is that the last row, the third row, where it's kind of contrary to the first two stats, where median days on market for both single family and condos got slower. 8 days slower to 35 days for single family, and 6 days slower to 33 days market for condos. Now we're going over the 1 month mark, I guess you could say. So that's kind of big. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen next month, because I look at the median days on market as more of like the leading indicator versus the other stats. Yeah. Like I did the last few months, I've been trying to simplify it because we talk all the numbers, yada, yada, yada. So picking a winner for January 2020, sellers or buyers, and the winner are the sellers.
That's dramatic.
Oh yeah, right. So I mean, yeah, overall with the prices going up, like you said, Lane, with that on the condo side jumping up so high, overall we got to go with the price increases as the main reason for, and the volume for that matter, for sellers being the winner for January. Changing over to some new information. So on Oahu, for the High Central multiple listing service, we started something new, and it's this coming soon status that's now available. Instead of you have active, we have in escrow showing, in escrow not showing, and sold. So now we have this new status called coming soon that started just January, this past month, January 2020. So what it allows listers and agents to do is it's almost like to pre-list your place for sale, and you can do it up to 30 days before you actually go live with an active listing. It's relatively new, so what we're seeing is you can use it if you're not quite ready to go live yet. Maybe a tenant is checking out, or not transitioning out, or you're still trying to do some repairs to get it ready, or you haven't gotten it staged or whatnot. So while you're in transition, High Central is now allowing us to pre-list it with this coming soon status. And I can see potential benefits in using this status for both my sellers as well as my buyers. And I say potential because I think it's not really being used because it's relatively new. So as of last night, I think there were only 24 coming soon listings on all of Oahu. So I think once people start using it the way it was intended to, I think there's potential, the way I see it. And again, it's new, but it'll be like pocket listings where you might be able to be in contract before you even list the property. So it could potentially save money for sellers. You don't want to put in the new carpet because this potential buyer reached out and negotiated something with the price. That's how I see it. And I'm trying that with my sellers now, and we'll see how it goes. So if you guys are interested, anyone's interested in how this could help you guys, hit me up. You guys know how to reach me.
Yeah, you know all the cool stuff.
Trying to be
nothing better to do, right? Than look at this stuff.
well, we're trying to, I'm trying to be progressive, right? And trying to, however, can help my clients save money. So
not your 40-hour a week day job, part-time real estate agent on the side anymore. Growing up there.
You know that.
So like the coming soon, like you would think like you put it on there, you're just gonna have a lot of bottom feeders just throwing you junk offers, right? So you can get the pre-list price.
So
if you're desperate, yeah. Or if they're seeing if the seller's desperate.
Okay, yeah, I could see that as a potential, but I also see it as, say you have a potential buyer looking in complex that they really want to buy in. So they have a auto mailer that will send them any active or coming soon inventory that pops up. So they get it. Now you have this information, and the buyer really wants it. And like how we discussed, it's been a strong seller's market for so long that buyers in certain areas, and certain price points, they're losing out because it's a multiple offer situation, and so it could potentially have buyers being able to not necessarily sneak in, but get a jump on a potential listing and potentially talk to the other side and see if you can strike up a deal and save money on both sides. Because like I said, maybe the seller is prepping it, think, we got to change the cabinets, or we have to redo the flooring because it's totally messed up. But you could have a potential buyer who's like, hey, you know what? I'll take it as is because I know the bones in this building are going to be good, and it'll cost me at most $5,000 to do the flooring or something, and I'm fine with that because I lost out the last 2 times on my offers on this building, and I can't wait any longer. So it could not necessarily, like you said, there's potential for like low baller investors or whatever. But then if that's the case, you just wait till it gets listed, right? So it gives sellers more options, if anything.
I can see how it could hurt you. Like if say you're listing my condo in here, right? And then we're on market for like a few weeks already. And then some sucker coming soon, right? And then he blows our listing out of the water. It just makes more competition for us selling, right?
Potentially, right? But then again, he's listing it coming soon for a reason. He's not ready to go live. So yeah, like you said, it gives way to more competition from the standpoint of you'll know sooner before it comes on. And so it's just more of a transparent market, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder whenever they have something new like this, there's all kinds of loopholes, right? And people always trying to game the system. I wonder if you can put something on coming soon, take it off, put it back on, 25 days. Take it off, put it on another 25 days, but we'll find out, right?
Yeah, right.
You're gonna try that one.
Yeah. Well, the High Central is getting smart too. They changed certain rules to get around the loopholes to like how you said, if someone didn't want to show the cumulative days on market because they temporarily pulled it off and on. So it's a dynamic process, and I think
if you're not trying to cheat, you're not playing by the rules. You're not trying hard enough for your client, right?
Right.
Same baseball. It's not stealing signs. It's business.
Moneyball, right? Moneyball. So that transitions to our next topic, which are associations in the news. So I think last month I talked about how our association dues, maintenance fees, it's not that they're totally sunk costs. We're getting value for what paying, right? In terms of deferred maintenance, saving the funds in reserve to do capital improvements like roofing, elevators, things like that. So I was trying to talk about the good side of association fees. And so last week in the news, there was Kilohana Tower that came out maybe 8 months ago, like last year. And this is reserved housing. Majority of it was reserved housing. But just recently, I think in the last week, they announced that they're going to increase their maintenance fees as much as 50%. And that's mainly because the common area operating costs, like electricity in the common area and labor to maintain the grounds, were underestimated when they first set the fees. So now, of course, right, if you're a buyer that bought 8 months ago, I'd be up in arms too. So now they're trying to figure out how they can try to reduce these costs and therefore not increase the fees so much. So yeah, this is on the flip side of the association fees, how it can kind of hurt you, right? So, and again, this was reserved housing. So like a 2-bedroom condo was going for like 500,000. So they're getting very reasonable deal. And of course, they have to qualify for it. And this is in the heart of Kawaoka, so it's prime urban prime living. So lucky for them, the prices. Unlucky for them, these association fee hikes. And feel for them, but what you gonna do, right? So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit in terms of the good, bad, and the ugly of association fees.
Yeah, most people like think condos are cheaper, right? Pricing there is, but then you got this implied fixed costs going on and potentially variable costs in the future.
Yeah, and the thing too is that one had mixed use. You know, down below was on the lobby was CVS, right? So you think that would offset some of the common area costs, but apparently not. So, anyway, next I wanted to give another update on Core Ridge development. Again, this is a neighborhood that's coming up in between, I guess, Pro City and Mililani and YPO Gentry. So I spoke to my contacts over at Castle and Cook, and basically sales were pushed back to Q2 of this year. I think initially the last time I had spoken to them, it was beginning of this year. Sales or Q1, sales were supposed to start, and with the first delivery or people moving in the end of this year. So there's no change to that. And if you live in the area, you'll see that they are starting a lot of work, and it's evident along the fringes, along the south side especially. As I was driving by Kamehameha Highway, I was able to take some pictures. So I just want to show you some of the update. If you're familiar with the Kamehameha Highway and this public storage here by the industrial area, on the right hand side of the public storage is the Okinawan Cultural Center. So you can see they're mass grading, they're opening up. This is actually going to be, I think, one of the south entrance. And my understanding is they're starting construction of the houses on this south entrance. Let's see, we might have a few more pictures. I wanted to show how they're making it nice and pretty with trying to grow some grass along this grading here. I guess to make all the neighbors happy, right? So here, this red arrow is pointing to exactly where I took those pictures. So if you see, that's the southern portion. Here's a Google Maps picture to give you an idea of what it looks like now. Again, it's all farm area, right? So all those plots of farmland are going to be houses and all along the H2 freeway. So at the top, there's supposed to be one big on-ramp, I think, so yeah, I just wanted to give an update on Core Ridge. If anybody wanted more information or wants me to keep them in the loop on what's going on, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, pricing on that stuff.
They won't say. It's all going to be market priced when.
But is it like nicer than Malka or nicer than Kapolei?
I have to think it's going to be above Malka in terms
Really?
of rate. That's what I mean. Don't get me wrong. They're going to have all different types, right? They're going to have townhouses. They're going to have, they're industrial. There's supposed to be elementary school. There's going to be retail. But the housing, I'm sure it's going to be like how they develop Mililani Maka, right? Or they start building at the bottom, and then as they go up, especially like the Mililani Maka, those perimeter lots closer to the top and the edges were all the high-end, more custom type homes. So if I had to guess, it would be like a similar strategy, right?
Because when Kapolei and all that other villages came out, it was lower than Milani stuff, right?
Right. And then you can also think about geographically, they're a lot further out west, and hopefully this area is going to be cooler, like how Mililani Wahiwa is outside of a beach.
A little bit higher median income demographic wise.
Yeah, and it's in theory, it's closer to town, but further from Kapolei, right, the second city.
Yeah.
But
where do you live out here? You probably
and that's partly why I took pictures too. Is like I'm curious to see how this is gonna all pan out, because I live in Mililani town, right? Yeah, on the older side of Mililani.
Yeah, bumping that median income up for everybody. More taxes. So if you guys mainland investing, check out my podcast, Simple Passive Cashflow, and I got the local group RA Aloha. Join our meetup there and the Facebook page. But I'm gonna run through a bunch of headlines. This one, people from Hawaii really like this Las Vegas news. You know where that is? If you look at that picture, Dean.
I don't.
Probably been to Vegas a dozen times, but
yeah.
So this little sliver that you probably walk by or drive by is getting sold. So that'll be changing hands here soon. But some real news here. So in case you guys didn't realize, but the US government stole a whole bunch of money from you guys this past month. The Secure Act, you probably never heard of it, but it's a pretty big deal. What this came about, if you recall, like the government shut down, and this was the governance that was put into act to make sure that the economy kept going, or the government kept working. And it's a way of, they've harvested funds from taxpayers. Essentially, they got rid of the stretch IRA. Here are some other changes that are a little less taxing on people. They increased the age for required minimum distributions to 72, or we call RMDs. But here's the biggest thing that not a lot of people realize. You ever heard of like a stretch IRA, Dean?
Mm-hmm.
Before, if your parents died and they had an IRA, you could inherit it, and you could withdraw it or take it as taxable income pretty much for a long time. But now they said, all right, we got rid of those. You only have 10 years to do it. So essentially, if you're an accounting guy or numbers guy, the government just slid a whole bunch of money up in the next 10 years that they can get their hands on.
Because they want their income taxes on it.
Yeah, and this is why I don't like retirement accounts, because they always do this stuff to us. I mean, not me anymore. I don't have any of this stuff. There's exemptions for this. So like if you pass away and you have a surviving spouse, children under the age of 10, disabled or chronically ill, this doesn't apply to you. But for 99.99% of people out there, you got to pay up, you got to take it as income and pay the government your taxes because they want it. And, this is just an example of what happens when you have certain people in office, right? It changes. Like if you recall when Clinton was in presidency, it was pretty nasty. You had the inheritance tax. If you had an estate bigger than $600,000, you got taxed on anything more than that. Now it's like 4 million, 5 million. It's pretty high now. We never know if the surviving spouse exemption is going to go away. This stuff changes. So yeah, you guys' votes matter. Leave it at that. Top multifamily markets in 2020. They're saying small metros and suburbs are where to look for. Rent control makes a comeback as housing crisis grows. Late last year, we saw 3 states passing new laws in 2019 limiting rent increases. If you are buying in blue states, this is what happens.
They're talking about that over here too.
I like to follow the U-Haul trends. It kind of follows the workforce, blue-collar workers. It's what I personally invest in. So these are where the top growth cities in 2019. A lot in North Carolina, a lot in Florida, Texas, Idaho. There's a Manhattan in there. And a bunch of Alabamas.
Henderson,
Nevada. I put this on here and then I realized maybe the cities isn't the best way. I'd rather see it more on a state level or MSA level. Another indicator. And then, I like the U-Haul because this is where the people, like I said, blue collar. I mean, I used to use U-Haul, but Van Lines is a similar report that is more for white collar workers. When they get moved, their company usually relocates them.
That's the immigration trends of your potential tenants, right?
Right. Land conservation easements. We talked about this last time, what it is, but if you didn't catch that one, what this is for guys making over $350,000 a year. When you get above that threshold, you're going to get killed on taxes. So what a lot of credit investors will like to do is they'll donate money in the form of a land conservation easement to get a taxable deduction. But unlike when you donate $500 to the Salvation Army, when you donate $1 to a land conservation easement, you get $5 around there donation or taxable deduction.
And this is also the one that's buyer beware too, though, right?
Yeah, so it's getting a lot of unpopular attention in Congress, as it should, because it's a head scratcher, right?
I told you this is the one that my CP had told me that IRS are kind of cracking down on the industry and the shady ones at least.
Yeah. So like what a lot of developers will like to do, like golf courses, they'll designate an area as land conservation easement and then sell it to investors and then they'll donate the land essentially. But the head scratching part is like how they increase the value of the property usually about 5 times as their donated value. And some of these guys are calling it 5, 10, 20 times more. And that's when you're kind of getting a little greedy. But we're in a holding pattern right now. You need to do it. Talk to your professionals. But a lot of my clients are kind of in a holding pattern doing this stuff, at least waiting till the Department of Justice and the Congress battle this one out. Markets with the largest rent growth and largest rent decrease. So on the top there, we showed this last time, but Midland, Odessa, Honolulu was ranked number 2 across the nation as decrease in percent change in rents. That's not a good thing. Well, I guess depends which side of the table you are, right?
Right.
I'm a renter.
That's true.
What do you think? Like if I came to my landlord and I was like, well, here's this data. Can I get like a 1% or 2% decrease in my rent? I wonder what would happen.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Baton Rouge, Scranton, Lafayette, Lake Charles rounds up the top 5 of the bad boy list of decreasing rents. But where is it hot? It's Pensacola, Phoenix, Huntsville, Las Vegas, and Portland, Maine. There you are. Picked right, Dean, Las Vegas.
And you too in Huntsville, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in a recession. Who's doing better? I got my money in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Amazon created this 1.4 million square foot Florida project around Huntsville, but I put in this here. It's a little bit of fake news because it's only 500 new full-time positions in this fulfillment center. Usually you're looking for, and especially in a tertiary market of like 100,000 population, 500 jobs isn't that big of a deal. Probably when you get to a range of 1 to 2,000, that's a little bit more newsworthy in my opinion.
Would also depend on like the current trend in their economy. Like if we're talking about like Detroit or something where they're depressed and then something like this comes about, it's bound to jack it up a whole bunch, right? So I'm thinking it comes with a grain of salt from that standpoint too.
Yeah, I just think like these newspapers just need to make headlines, right? And Amazon is a big name.
Oh yeah, of course.
Realtor.com, they came out with this 2020 housing forecast. They said that the mortgage rates will go up by the end of the year to 3.88%. I would argue it's all pretty steady anyway.
Yeah.
Average median home price will go up about 1%. Existing home sales or volume will go down 1.8%. And single family housing starts will go up 6%. But as we'll talk later, it will be much less than the growth rate. There's still a housing shortage. Millennials will make up 46% of the mortgage originations, up from 43% last year. You working with any millennials?
I am.
Are they the old kind? Or is it like...
No, kind of young. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you can have a 40-year-old millennial too.
Oh, I got you.
Based on some of this data. They lump like weird ages sometimes in some of their statistics.
I thought you meant mindset.
Oh yeah, that too, I guess. We can talk a little bit more about that. I got a slide on that later.
Okay.
U.S. monthly volume and pricing trends by sector. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, which by the way, we have a podcast now. So you can watch this while doing chores for your spouse, and maybe you give massages while you're listening to podcasts. I don't know.
You can listen in 2.0 speed too, right?
Yeah, a lot faster. Or you can just watch this on the YouTube and just watch the words that we're going to read anyway. But we have some graphs on here on the office, industrial, retail, and apartment trends. Howard Hughes spends $500 million in Houston on the Arnarco Petroleum and ConocoPhillips old headquarters. Down there in Seattle, their office employment is going way up. And that makes sense because that workforce base is very tech oriented. So,
your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, they don't work out there in the field. They like their offices. Largest employer by state. So I have a picture of all the states out there and their biggest employer. Hawaii is Altruist Industrial. You ever heard? What is that?
That's outsourcing work. That's labor outsourcing. So that's super interesting, I think.
What is that? Like, what do they do?
They outsource work. Like if you need a secretary or temp secretary, or you need admin clerks like that, then you hire them. I think if that's the Altruist that I'm thinking of. My old employer, we went through them to hire admin assistant temporarily.
Do they pick from the local workforce, or are they like hiring people out in the mainland? Or?
It was local. Yeah, it was local.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I think that's super. No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's cheaper to go through a third party and you're just paying them an hourly set fee and you don't have to worry about
HR and
retirement and medical benefits and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like outsourcing to India or anything, but if that's true, that's kind of interesting. That's super interesting.
So Nevada, where Las Vegas is, their highest employer is MGM Resorts, and everywhere in the southeast, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, I think that's Virginia, and everywhere in the middle is Walmart.
That's even more interesting. I did not know that.
Montana and Wyoming are Walmart too. So if you say, oh, I work for Walmart, you're part of the union or tribe. So I buy mostly B and C class apartments, but I kind of look over the fence at the A class stuff from time to time. And some of the new amenities you're seeing in A class apartments, the luxury stuff, are like the Peloton bikes.
Peloton.
Yeah, you got one of those?
I do not. I'm not
I bet you'll have one in this next year.
You think? It seems really cool. It's funny because I was talking to my wife about about, I really I like the group exercises because I like the energy, and sometimes I need somebody to push me. So this is, I guess, the next best thing, right? Because you're at home, you have a screen, either you're watching a pre-recorded video or you're doing it with people. Yeah. So I'm like, that's the next best thing than being at 24-hour fitness working
You should
out.
check out the mirror. You seen that thing?
No.
It's like a mirror that's a mirror, but it's also a screen. So you can see yourself and you watch the person to imitate them, and you can see you.
Oh, that's actually kind of powerful for like dancing and stuff. I can see they're very applicable.
Yeah, but maybe it's just motivating or unmotivating to see yourself in the mirror.
That's true. Well, unless it's like makes you look thinner or something, then
maybe you can bend the outwards inside so it makes you look thinner.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. Or on the smartphones, it makes your complexion look nicer.
Yeah, make you work harder. You got a larger gap to fill. I have a graph of, this isn't the stock market, this is the US market divided by GDP. So we are right at the 2000 level, year 2000. Oh, Macys. My wife loves Macys. Don't worry, guys. They're not closing. They're closing 30 stores across the nation, but our beloved one in Port Ridge and Ala Moana is here to stay.
But the question is for how long, right?
Yeah. And across the nation, other stores, Pure One, are closing down, and Bose, that makes our Bose headphones that allow us to drown out the rest of humanity, is going out of business.
And crying babies on the plane.
Yeah. Do you know what Five Below is? You ever heard of that?
No, what's that?
Well, if you go out to the middle of nowhere, America, there's these Five Below. They're like discount retailers. It's like 99-cent store, but $5 and below.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know either. I walked into one because I thought it was a frozen yogurt place when I was like visiting some properties.
Okay.
I was like, oh, this isn't Froyo here.
Maybe a stock you want to watch in a downward economy.
Yeah. In the recession, the dollar, FDO, right. Family Dollar did really good.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
$750 million Ponzi scheme from the income store. So I did a podcast with another gentleman who buys websites, and then what they do is they fix it up virtually, right? They'll create content, they'll increase the SEO, and they'll increase the net operating income essentially, and then sell it. But I guess what the income store, I don't really know what it did. You guys can look it up on your own, but it was a place where you could buy and sell these websites, but they turned out to be a scam.
Wait, you telling me he helped out the income store?
No. This is what he did. No. This is what he did. Like, and a lot of people do this, right? They can work from wherever.
Yeah. No, I thought you mean he helped these guys out and he was like accomplice.
No. But this was I think a lot of people went to this website and they used it. All right, let's beat up on the millennials now, or in this case, the median age of home buyers is now 47 years old. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So it used to be in the 1980 era, median age of home buyers in the United States was 31 years old. And in the last 40 years, it's gone up to 47. Millennial share of the U.S. housing market is small and shrinking. So it's a little graph of where the baby boomers were at, and then the Generation X people. You're a Gen Xer, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, what I was curious about is the last stat is like, I'm assuming that that's all owner occupied. So like, what about guys like you who are renting but using your money to invest? You fall out as a non-buyer then, yeah?
Yeah. Or it's like all their statistics on unemployment where they like phone people up. But how do you measure all the people who are pissed off and they don't want to answer that stupid call because they're out of work?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they always say that unemployment rate is very skewed too because it excludes the unemployed who have totally stopped for a long time now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People gave up, right?
Yeah. Right. It excludes those. So that the statistics are skewed in that sense. It's only including the ones that are continuing to try to apply for jobs legitimately or illegitimately collect unemployment rate. So there's ways to not be in that number. So that's deceiving, I think. When
you guys are looking for houses to sell, but there's a recent trend in co-showering and multi-generational houses. I read this one article and it kind of showed all these things. And that's what I picked out. I don't know if it's literally people are showering together to save money, but I do know like a property that was built in the 1980s or 1990s, so not too old. But what we're going to do on that is we're going to get rid of the tubs and put in a new, call them luxury shower, but it's not that expensive. People would rather have a shower than a tub. We'll get a $50 rent increase for that.
I know of people who get a single family and chop it up to rooms or even like little cubicles, and it's almost like not a youth hostel per se, but they're renting out the room and then they have shared kitchen and bath, and they're all individual, usually singles, maybe military or doctoral residents or something, and then they don't mind, they just need a place to sleep and they don't mind sharing kitchens and bathroom with other people they don't know, and then they end up getting to know them. So it's almost like a long-term Airbnb, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it, but in that sense, yeah, the landlord's happy because you're collecting way more than you would if you're just renting to one single family long term. And vacancy, you totally handle your vacancies, right? Because if one person leaves, and it's like 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 7. So
I sat in on a pitch for this guy who was doing an app. And it's like crowd surfer, but it was like exactly what you said, the long-term renters, but they just want a room. He was telling me all these nightmares that would happen initially, right? When they first started out, they had to make it where it was same sex. Because obviously, the issues with that, with safety. Right. And then I think they gave the people free Netflix subscription because they found out if they're just on their phones all the time or watching Netflix, that there's little interaction. And that's where their problems as a company is when the tenants interact. So if you keep them at bay, less problems.
That's their reality, right? They're watching the Netflix and that's where their world is at. So
right,
the outside world they're in their matrix.
Right. Another trend, Hilton's launching a new lifestyle brand called Temple by Hilton. It is designed to appeal to ambitious modern traveler. I need glasses. I thought that said women travelers. 4 strategies for 2020 success in the Class C multi-space. So the first one was new markets. So getting out of places that everybody has been talking about for the last half a decade. Dallas, Texas, since everybody's looking there and everybody knows it's a good market. Tech. So they said try and use I'm not going to say her name, Alexa, because things will start to happen if I say that word here, or other forms of technology in the apartments. Treat your employees well, because a lot of these places, the employees, the office staff, and the handyman workers are on salary, as opposed to paying your tenants, or you're paying your property manager a certain percentage primarily. And then different regulations, as we said, the rent control. Dean, did you know that in 2025, there will be more people turning 65 than babies being born?
I did not know that.
Crazy.
Are we doing the
assisted living facility?
Yeah.
No,
right,
man. That's like everybody talks about that thing, and it's, man, are you looking for something super hard and difficult where you haven't even owned a rental property before?
High liability.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you talk about trend, I mean, that makes it spot on, right? That hits that heartstring right there in terms of telling me where to look. So maybe it's not that. Maybe it's things that these 65-year-olds are going to be using, that type of market.
My buddy, he does venture M&A is like the cool way of saying it, but mergers and acquisitions. Mm-hmm. But you have all these older people who have built businesses and obviously haven't really employed the best technology and systems and practices, but just created it with hard work, right? And good old-fashioned business sense. But they're unable to sell the business. So the mergers and acquisitions is a good way to play that, I think, is you take a business like a restaurant or an insurance practice or like a dentist franchise and you buy it. I think that's a better way to play it.
That makes sense. I've seen that too, like in the accounting world, in the CPA world. A lot of CPAs, they start off, they work for the big 4, or maybe back then it's a big 6, and then they find out they want to be an entrepreneur, or they don't want to be partner here. They want to work on their own, so they open up their own practice, and then by nature it grows because they get more and more clients. And then, like how you said, they're hiring employees who are good at doing the work, but when it comes time to succession planning to hand it on, even their children don't want to take it over. So what do you do now, right? So I've heard some great stories of opportunities like that, I guess you could say, for these small practices that don't have a plan. And it's great. I mean, it seems to be like a win-win, because usually if the agreement works out, the employees are retained and the managing company gets to take over with more volume and more, actually adds a different niche to the larger companies that might have had larger clients.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, right? The phrase that's always said is, who is the person that has the keys here, right? If that CPA leaves or retires, business is going to fall apart. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why you don't want to buy that business. But there's always a way to keeping that person on retainer and making their buyout contingent on X amount of clients staying on board.
And a lot of times, it's not to say that the partners are irreplaceable, and they are replaceable. It's the challenge is, like you said, you need a smooth transition because, of course, you're gonna have attrition, right? So the plan is you just make sure in that M&A deal when you're pricing it out, which is usually based on future cash flows, is that you're taking into account, if you're on the buying side, the attrition. Yeah.
If all you want to do is retire and play pickleball 3-4 times a week, then why get into all that stuff, right?
No, right. Yeah.
Where do you play pickleball in case people want to hang out with you in the middle of the day?
I started off playing in Millennial town. We have a recreation rec center 3, and so there's 8 dedicated courts. So if you wanna come by, hit me up. I'll go all over the island though if you guys wanna play. Hey, I love it, Lane. Honestly, it's a great sport. It's one of the fastest growing, and young guys are getting into it too. I think a 21-year-old professional came down from the mainland. He stopped by, and we got to experience some pro pickleball playing. Yeah, honestly, I do enjoy it. I laugh about it. Initially, I thought, this is an old folks game and it's kind of darky and stuff, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
Right. Well, while you're doing that, I would say hundreds of thousands or millions of employees are trying to race for this 5G thing in corporate America. Somebody right now is working his 14th or 16th hour and needs to go home and sleep for 4 hours before coming back.
Super Bowl had a lot of commercials on it, right? Through Verizon, I think.
Yeah. Another statistic, I was at this family office meeting and they're talking about how in that slide to the right is how energy storage has changed and will change. Before it was the power plants to the houses, and then now we got all the solar panels, and maybe the solar panels might feed outwards eventually. But the other statistic was in 2026, there'll be more electric cars than gas cars.
I thought by then there would be 100%. I mean, a lot of manufacturers are saying I thought it was like 10 years they're going to be out of production for dyno fuel. It's all going to be EVs. I thought they're all shifting. You have people already off the grid with battery storage.
I think I'm going to buy that Tesla truck.
Really?
Yeah. That's going to be a couple years. I still got to drive my car. It's on a lease. So next headline here, housing market falling short by nearly 4 million houses as demand grows. So as much as you see housing prices going up, the demand is going up much faster. Vacancy rates have been going down over the past decade, and home ownership vacancy has gone down slightly also. And I think that's at the end here. I do my little book report to you, Dean. I've been reading this book, Willpower Doesn't Work, by Benjamin Hardy.
Did you tell me about that? I bought it from the library.
Did you read it?
I think I skimmed it, but I had to return it by the time. Go talk about it. I want to hear what you get to say.
Well, that's exactly why willpower doesn't work. You didn't read the damn book.
It's because I didn't take the distractions out, right? Because isn't that what it is? Isn't the whole premise is because willpower doesn't work, you need to take all the distractions out of your life so that you can focus in on the things you got to do.
These books are just kind of space fillers, right? Half of it is you're a human being, you're not a machine, right? And I already kind of know that. But then the other half of the book are things like you said, and then creating systems to set yourself up for success.
Which you are the master of, Lane, I must say.
You make any systematic changes this past month I can steal?
No, nothing earth-shattering. I still got to keep on looking back at my vision board. And for me, the passion is still the real estate sales. But one thing that I've had to refocus on is how you're talking about, like you said, to be able to play pickleball is like, I still want to increase my investment portfolio, my real estate, my buy and hold real estate portfolio. So that means I need to increase my deal flow from that standpoint. So that I haven't been. I've been working more on the real estate sales side and helping others out. So you got to step back and help yourself out. To me, the real estate sales part is the fun part, and I enjoy that and I'm passionate about that, but I need to also step back and I want to build my deal flow because I also have my own personal investing goals set for the year on my vision board. So I got to relook at that, I guess. Yeah.
Buy another couple houses you can play 4 times a week. And that's a part of it, right? Rewards, setting rewards for yourself. And I think that's what they talked about in this book too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to go and travel the world with you too, Lane.
One of these days.
Yeah, have some fun.
This is the part where we talk about the legal disclaimer, and we are not giving any legal, tax,
financial investment advice.
Yeah, relationship advice, life advice. That's it. And hope you guys like it. Check out the YouTube channel and join raloha.com. Check us out there. And anything else for the folks there, Dean?
Nope, just keep on keeping on.
All right. Take it easy, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Green Real Estate Investing Group check out reialoha.com.